This is Dave again from DQ Studios and Not So Ancient Chinese Secrets, and I'm here to talk about the ergonomics of the Nikon Df and how it compares to its older brother, the D700, and its brother from another mother, the D4, which shares the same sensor. So all the rage is because of the fact that it's got all this retro cool stuff on the top. Let's take a look at how this affects a professional shooter who shoots in manual mode all the time like me. And so I don't need like exposure compensation dial, which is way on top here. That'll never be used. That's cool and useless. All right, cool. Well, how about the shutter? The shutter is on this side, and I have control over the shutter just by rotating the dial either with my thumb or even with my forefinger if I got a really long finger. But there's a problem. It is only available in full stops, so no 1/3 adjustments. To make it into 1/3 adjustments, I can turn it to the 1/3 setting and it locks in position, which is nice, so that it doesn't inadvertently come out of there. But now it works like the D700 and the D4, where the back dial becomes the shutter control in 1/3 increments, and the front dial is the aperture in 1/3 as it always has been. Now, the front dial has turned into a circle instead of just a dial. And I think that's just a cosmetic thing they've done. It doesn't seem to act any differently. It seems to have a little bit more bite right now, but it might just wear in with use. But I don't think it's gonna cause any difference. One thing that I should know is the grip. If you take a look at these side by side, you'll notice that the Df, which Nikon says is the smallest full frame DSLR they've ever made, is smaller. They were right. Amazing. And so the grip is actually quite a bit narrower. And if you take a look at that, it's actually harder to hold. And I don't have big hands. It's not quite as small and dainty as my Fuji X100S, but it's not quite also as grippy as the D700. Maybe we sweat more on these ones, but the D4 and the D700 feel a little bit more grippier than the leather or whatever synthetic they're using here in the body of the Df. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work because my thumb naturally goes a little bit more over because of the smaller grip, and so the dials don't tend to line up the same way. We're so used to the D700 where the buttons just find your fingers perfectly, but perhaps we'll just get used to it. The D4, the best ergonomic camera that we've ever used, even though it's heavier, has a really nice solid grip with a really defined grip on the front here, and then the buttons just kind of fall right where your fingers would. And so it's a really nice feeling camera. It doesn't have that same niceness of feel. It's kind of sacrificed for the retro and smallness of the beast. But yeah, we'll see if that actually kills our hands in the future. They still have the FN and the PV buttons, and we have another video showing what we do with those, which is really nice because you can use them with either your left hand, which cradles the lens, or you can use them with your right hand, fourth or third fingers. And I love having options for different buttons so that I can quickly shoot with flash or no flash and things like that right in the heat of battle when we're shooting. Now, as we look more at it, I'm not using the shutter dial up top. I'm not using the actual exposure compensation because I shoot full manual. So what am I going to use over here? Well, I am going to use the ISO dial. And the ISO dial is beneath the exposure compensation, and its marker is on the back here. It's not this one. This marker here is meant for the exposure compensation dial. This marker back here is telling you which ISO you've selected. And to change the ISO, again, it's a locking ring. You press and hold this little button here, and then you can turn at will. The cool part is that they've managed to fit all the ISO options from low 1, which is 50, all the way to H4, which is some insane number, like 25,000 ISO. So I love the fact that they've given us all of the ISO controls right at the dial here. Kudos to you, Nikon, for that. So the three most used controls that I'm going to have for exchanging exposure are going to be the ISO, the shutter, and the aperture on the front dial here. But wait, make sure you watch the other video, because one of the kind of bonehead things they've done is they don't show the ISO in your viewfinder by default. They show you the number of images remaining. And until you actually rotate the dial, not even pressing this button, but you have to rotate the dial, will the ISO show up in the viewfinder. That means if you're taking a picture and you're shooting, and you change rooms, you have no idea what ISO you're at. So really, without knowing your ISO, the shutter and the aperture, yeah, they're only two parts of the three equations. So we need to know the ISO to know if we're going to be in the ballpark. So without having to move your eye over here, you've actually got to twiddle your thumb. But check out the other videos so that you can actually change the settings so you can actually see your ISO. Besides that, the actual body itself, I know they say it's magnesium and it's weather sealed to the D800 level. And maybe because it's just lighter, it doesn't inspire confidence as much as the D700 does, or of course the tank, the beast we call it, the D4. That being said, I have a lot of faith in Nikon as a company, and if they say it's tough, I kind of believe it, because they kind of birthed this baby. Besides that, the back is pretty much similar to any other Nikon back that you see. The cool part is that they have, maybe the grip is so small because they don't need to put in the card holder because it doesn't take compact flash cards. They only need to make one door at the bottom here, which kind of feels like the door of the D4, which opens up with a latch and a turn, and now you've got both your SD card as well as your battery. And the battery so far, who knows, but at least they're smart enough, they don't go in all sides like the Fuji's, and it makes sense to actually just slide it in, and it does fit really nice. Turn, lock, and you're in. But yeah, mixed bag. I do like having the ISO on the top. It's a bit smallish even for small hands, so get your hands on the body, and I say fondle it before you purchase, just to make sure that it works for you. But we already know and love the sensor, and we'll see if this becomes part of our family of Nikon. Thanks for watching, guys.